Oh, g'day guys, it's Sam here from Built Not Bought, and on this episode of F Me, It's Hot in This Shed, we're going to be talking all things batteries and the difference between them all. Alright, so this is a pretty common question. The main thing about four-wheel drives is all about power. Solar, whenever you're remote, you've got to have electricity to run all your gear. And no matter how good your power, your alternator and your solar is, the battery is what's going to hold that capacity to run you through the night or multiple nights if you need. So I'm pretty much going to tell you why you need a lithium battery. But to start off with, I'll explain the differences between the other ones as well. As most of you know, I have a background in electrical engineering, but I'm no expert on batteries, but hopefully I can give you a bit of an idea of what goes on inside these and why they're different and the pros and cons basically of each one. So this one on the right is not an old school one, but I'm going to pretend it is. That's the old school lead acid flooded battery. And what that is a whole lot of lead plates stacked to each other and the ions transfer between them. Now this type of battery is going to need maintenance. It'll need to be filled up with distilled water every now and then. And if it falls over, it can leak. And they're quite heavy because of the lead inside them. Now these are very common just for street cars. They're basically a good cranking battery. So they're going to start your car well, but they don't have any deep cycle properties. So not real good for running fridges overnight and stuff like that. So that's sort of the run-of-the-mill standard vehicle battery. Next we have what's called a spiral cell design. So this is a yellow top Optima. Now the difference between this one, it's still a lead acid style, but instead of having plates, it's formed in a spiral design in each of these cylinders here. Now the advantage of that means you can get more surface area in a small amount of space. And that's going to mean that you're going to get less resistance, so you're going to have a bit of faster charging, and this one also has deep cycle properties as well. And the fact that those spirals are locked into each of these cylinders, it's going to be more resistant to vibration, because this one here, these lead plates, when it goes on corrugated roads and stuff like that, they can vibrate and crack and come loose and stuff like that, whereas being locked into these cylinders, it's much more resistant to vibration. This one also I don't think needs any maintenance, so you don't need to top up the fluid. It's fairly sealed as well, but you wouldn't want to push this one over either, because it can leak out the top. So that's a very common cranking battery as well, but they do have the deep cycle properties. I know a lot of guys use them. Next we have an AGM battery. Now this is a step up from the old design, because basically the plates are set in a grid format inside, which kind of locks it all together, making it real resistant to those corrugations and rough roads. So designed for the four-wheel drive. Has deep cycle properties as well. And those grids are a lot more efficient because they actually angle up towards the tabs. So it gives a free-flowing flow of electrons to those tabs in the output, giving you more deep cycle and a faster charge as well. But they're still fairly heavy, and but they are a sealed unit. So these ones you can sort of, if it falls over, it's not going to leak or anything like that. Very common. I think it's probably the most common battery at the moment on the market for four-wheel drive owners, because they're still fairly cheap and they have that deep cycle property and they can handle the rough terrain. And then finally we have this lithium ion battery from Deep Cycle Systems. Now this one here is my choice when it comes to an auxiliary battery. So basically the design inside of this is a whole lot of little batteries, you could say, all stacked up against each other. Same with most of these designs, like these cells are all like 2.2 volts each. 6 of them add up to your 12, 13 volts. In a lithium you've got a whole lot of little ones stacked up, but there's no lead inside this. So basically the design in each one of these layers is there is an aluminium layer, and then it goes to a lithium oxide, which is the cathode. Then there's a separator, and then there's the anode, which is a carbon graphite, and then finally a layer of copper. And that's one slither, and then there's heaps of those stacked up inside. So that gives it really efficient. It's all about purity in a lithium battery. So that pure oxide gives it real efficiency and a flow of electrons, minimum resistance. So you can charge these a lot faster, and they're a lot lighter and stuff like that. So that's sort of an overview of what's inside them, how they're designed and the different applications. Now I want to show you the difference between these three batteries compared to one lithium ion battery. Okay, so first thing I want to mention is capacity. Now this is a 100 amp hour deep cycle battery. Now what that means is basically you get 100 amps of discharge over an hour, or you get 10 amps for 10 hours, or you get 100 amps for the 1 hour, or you can get 100 hours of 1 amp. Sort of like that's how the maths works. But the difference between this and a lot of these other batteries is this battery can run down to 0% charge, which means you get the full 100 amp hours. Whereas say this AGM was 100 amp hour advertised, you can only discharge an AGM or a lead acid deep cycle battery to about 50 to 30%, which means you're only actually getting 50 or 30 amp hours of usable charge. So in reality, you want to have 3 of these AGM batteries to match 1 lithium ion battery if we're talking capacity. So just keep that in mind. The other thing is the voltage. The design of these lithium batteries means you've got to keep your voltage until it's down to 0% charge, which means over time, as it discharges overnight, you'll wake up and it could be at 30–40% charge and you're still going to have 12–13 volts of power. This is really good for your accessories, for your fridge, your lights like that. They like to keep that voltage. Whereas you wake up in the morning and your AGM deep cycle battery has dropped down to maybe 60–70%, you're actually going to see a drop in voltage down to maybe like 9 volts. Once you get below 9 volts, you're going to start damaging your equipment. So in reality, you're going to get a lot more life out of this lithium battery. So with that in mind, weight's the next thing. The weight of one of the, hold on, I've got some scales. Oh, I don't know how this works. You gotta have your, yeah. All right, so one weight of this lithium ion battery is 13.5 kilos, okay? Very light, because I'll show you in a minute. And then we've got one of these AGMs, 21.3 kilos. Now what I said earlier about you need 3 of these for the same capacity as this. So if that's 21 times 3, what's that, 62, 63 kilos. 63 kilos versus 13 kilos of weight if we're talking you want to carry the same capacity. So one of these batteries is going to do the same job as 3 of these and less than 1/6 of the weight. So that's one major plus that I like. The other thing I want to bring up is charging. Now the design of this lithium means you can actually pump in a shitload of current into this thing. And what do I mean by that? I mean, when you have a deep cycle AGM, your alternator usually has a regulator, or you've got your BCDC charger which regulates the voltage, or even your solar panel regulates the voltage to basically trickle charge this battery. What the lithium can do is, because it's got such a low resistance, it can handle heaps of current. You could bolt this thing straight up to your alternator and pump 80–90 amps into it and it will charge it just fine, which means you get a lot of rapid charging. If your battery goes flat overnight, you can pump this thing up in like 10 minutes if you put it straight into your car. Whereas this one's going to take a lot of driving to slowly trickle charge it. I did say it was hot in this shed. All right, almost done. I'm going to open the window. All right, so that's the advantage there. And so it's not only 4-wheel drives, like these lithium batteries are in your phone, they're in your computer, your laptop, a lot of hardware. I've got an electric bike at home that's got a lithium battery, and the reason it's got that is because it's so light, yet so powerful. So this really is the future of batteries. Disadvantage, why doesn't everyone have one of these already? Price, of course. New technology, it's going to cost a lot. These are up about $2 plus, I remember when they first came down. This deep cycle systems one, I think at the moment you can get it for just over $1,000. So they've come down a lot already, and I'm sure they're going to keep reducing in price as people get more efficient in building them and they become more popular. So I hope that sort of summarizes the difference between these 4 types of batteries. I think you can agree with me that lithium's the way to go. So I might chuck all 4 of these in my car. What the hell? Best of both worlds, eh? I'll see you in the next video. Oh, hold on. Okay, I just want to do a subscriber shout out to a couple of people because I haven't done that for a while, and there's a few of you on there that really stay active and I appreciate that. First I want to mention is my boy, TJ Jack. He gave me a shout out a while ago and I want to give him a shout out back because he's the reason I started this YouTube channel. I remember watching his videos years ago, absolutely loving them. So I think I caught him when he had maybe 2,000 subscribers. He's up there now. So I'll drop a link to his channel down below. 4-wheel drive stuff, doing a bit of build stuff now, which is really awesome, but amazing with the camera, amazing with his editing. Make sure you go check out TJ Jack. The other person I want to mention is Hugh Jazz. Don't know who you are in person, mate, but you're always commenting on my videos. First to watch it, first to comment. I love that you stay active and keep up to date with what I'm doing. Appreciate that, mate. You're a legend. And then just quickly, I've got a list here of Patreon members. Now, these are guys who have been in my top tier for a while. So on Patreon, you've got your $10 co-pilot tier. You get all the access to behind the scenes stuff like that. But these guys have been hanging around for a while. I want to give you a shout out. So we've got Callum Prindeville. Thanks, mate, for your support. You've been a long time follower. Chris Connington. Now he's WA. He actually came out to one of the tag along tours with me in his Jeep. Legend, mate. Good to meet you. Dion Beatty. Sorry if I said your name wrong. But Dion, you've been on there for a long time, as well as Josh Dawson. Steve Smith. Steve Smith is from Geraldton. I know that. He actually runs the Geraldton 4x4 Club. So jump onto Facebook and type in Geraldton 4x4 Club and you'll see his page there. Awesome stuff they do. They're always out and about, really active. Trent Gilliver, I think he did a question in the Q&A recently. I remember that name, but he's a co-pilot Patreon as well. And Zach Riddle, and I think I've met Zach Riddle. He actually lives near me at my old house, actually kind of down the road. So local legend. Thanks guys so much. And if you're not a Patreon member, there's a link in the description below. Go check it out. There's all extra stuff there and content. But this video has gone on for too long already. So I'll see you in the next one, guys. Make sure to subscribe and take it easy. Peace. It's too far to run to the camera.
If you found this video inspirational, you should most certainly click the subscribe button. Catch me on Facebook or Instagram for the latest content as well, before this video finishes.